Kate Pond. I love to travel. I help make the internet, like a lot of you do, right? And I used to give a lot of talks about bears and volcanoes and ravens and glaciers and basically everything nature related. That's what I used to do. So my talk is kind of the opposite of Todd's talk, I would say. Instead of going out of tech, I went into it. I just jumped in. So in the spirit of my talk, I have some themes that you might notice as I'm giving this talk. You might notice that do your research. Do your research, learn something new, always been looking. All right, ask for what you need, ask for what you want. That's gonna help you really move forward in your life and overcome change. That change that Todd was talking about that we all hate, right? But we gotta do anyways. Make sure you're building a network and a community. People to like really cheer you on and be there for you and help you find that new job, right? Resilience, practice resilience. What do I mean by that? Like, if you think you're gonna fail, just go, I'm gonna make it, and lean on your network, right? And then lastly, just something I learned recently, update your resume. Basically, do something every quarter or so that you can add to your resume and you can talk about. So when your friends find you a job, you can talk about this. So without further ado, let me tell my story, my journey from talking about bears and glaciers and ravens and all things nature to becoming a senior software engineer. When I was 8 years old, I was really into rocks, loved them. And my mom thought, well, how about we find a geology club? That's great. Right, there'll be geology clubs for 8-year-olds. There were not. But my mom found this ranger who was starting a junior ranger program. And I went every other weekend out to this park, went with my mentor. We learned about rocks and trees and animals. And by the age of like 8.5, I was the first junior ranger of Orange County, California, Parks and Beaches. Oh, thank you. From that moment on, I thought, this is all I want to do, rest of my life. This is what I'm going to do. Like all of my research papers in like middle school and high school English were about how do I become a park ranger. I actually spent my senior year in Austria learning German because guess what? You can get a job as a park ranger if you speak German. Sure, I'll do that. Then I went to Alaska and I studied natural resources management because what a better place to become a park ranger than the last frontier, right? Well, that's great. And then I went to Australia. I got a master's in environmental education and came back and I got a job. Guess what as? A park ranger. Yeah, I achieved that goal. It was pretty exciting. These are pictures from where I worked. First job as a park ranger in Katmai National Park. If you've never heard of Katmai National Park, it's a park in Alaska where this photo is taken. Lots of brown bears catching salmon in Brooks River out there in Katmai. There were something like 160 bears that frequent that river. I just have a few bear stories, just here and there, So I did the whole Katmai thing, and I went to Mendenhall Glacier, and I worked for Mendenhall Glacier, talking about glaciers, and I really missed Australia, so I went back to Australia for a bit. And when I came back from Australia, I was broke. I was so broke. It was like not a thing. But I found a job actually here in Phoenix. I found a job at the Desert Botanical Garden. It was a part-time job, kind of doing some environmental education, helping the docents figure out like what they were going to talk about, mesquite, creosote, cacti. It was only part-time though. The other part of the time I was like working for Saks Fifth Avenue off Fifth, doing my retail time. I worked for the DBG for 2 years, part-time, and I finally said to them, so you're gonna give me a full-time job? And they said, well, we don't know if that's in the budget. Because, when you work in environmental education, you never know what kind of budget you're gonna get. So I looked for other jobs. I found another job in Los Angeles, of all places. And I moved to Los Angeles and found out that I hated it. I could not do Los Angeles. And my partner at the time was still at a job here in Tempe. And I said, hey, if you can get a raise, we'll move back to Tempe. It'll be great. So sure enough, she got a raise. We moved back to Tempe. But when I got here, I didn't have a job. And the Desert Botanical Garden had totally cut my position. I had nothing. And I was like, what am I gonna do with a degree in environmental education in Phoenix, Arizona, the desert? Where am I gonna find that? There are couples, sure, there's Saguaro. I could have gone down to Tucson and done Saguaro, or could have gone to Grand Canyon. But the love of my life was here in Phoenix, and she didn't have a job that could help. Okay, so I started doing some InDesign work, just messing around with it. And my partner says to me, well, what do you wanna do? And I said, well, I'm really digging this InDesign stuff. And I'm super into learning this new technology. I love solving problems. I like logic. I like building things that people can see. And I really love trail building. Trail building was awesome. And she said to me, now, mind you, in this day and age, if I had thought about it, I probably would have asked AI and been like, hey AI, what should I do if I like these things? But she said to me, have you ever tried software engineering? I was like, what? What is software engineering? I don't know what software engineering is. My whole life I wanted to be a park ranger. I wanted to wear the flat hat. Talk about bears. Right, so I was like, all right, I'll download some things to my phone, do some little logic games. Those are kind of fun. And I think what I just did is I Googled, learn to code, how to code. How do I do this thing? And turns out there's a whole bunch of websites in 2015 that were Free Code Camp and Code Academy. And those sites still exist, which is amazing, and they're great. So I started to learn how to code. And I had found a new love. And I was like, well, what do I do next? How do I progress this? How do I ask these questions? Right? And luckily I had a pretty big network, or I still have a big network within environmental education. So I went to the Desert Botanical Garden, and I asked a woman who was mapping all of the saguaros in the garden. I said, what do you think I should do about this newfound love? And she said to me, hey, have you ever heard of meetups? No, I have no idea what those are. What are these meetups? And she's like, just go to the website, trust me. All right, I'll trust you. So I went to the website, and I put in Phoenix, and I put in tech, and sure enough, there are a million meetups in Phoenix, all around tech. Now, right now, the meetup scene is coming back because of lockdown from COVID. This is a good plug to go to your meetups. All us meetup organizers just love seeing people. So I know it's hard to put your pants on, go out, go to meetups, but please do, this is my cry to you. Because you're building network, you're building community, you're building the pieces that will help you be resilient. So I went to all these meetups. I think I went to the ASP.NET meetup, and I went to the C# meetup. I went to the JavaScript meetup, right? Raise it up. I went to all these meetups. I had no idea. I went to Women Who Code, PyLadies, Python, went to all the meetups. I started going to this meetup called Girl Develop It, right? And I just have to mention, I took lots of notes. I took lots of notes because I didn't know what they were talking about. So I would take all these notes and then go back and Google them, just like I Googled how to code. I thought this was really beneficial, right? Do your research. So anyways, I found this meetup, Girl Develop It. And I started going to every single meetup that they have. And at some point, the chapter leader says to me, "Hey, Kate, I see you're here a lot. I'm gonna step down. You wanna take over?" And I kind of looked at her like, that sounds like a lot of work. But I guess so. Cool. So I took over Girl Develop It. I became the chapter leader for Girl Develop It Phoenix. It was very exciting, great place to network. And I started hosting Girl Develop It meetups at Melt Media, for anybody who knows Melt Media. And hosted it there a lot. And one day, I told the person I coordinate with, I said, "I'm feeling pretty good about HTML, CSS, right? And I would like a job. Do you have said things here for people who know HTML and CSS?" And he was like, "Well, you know what, we might." So it was so cool that I just kind of told him what I wanted and what I was expecting and what I needed. And he helped me out, right? He got me an internship. At Melt Media, doing HTML email. And then it got me a new job. There I am, a Melt Median, hanging out, doing HTML email. I did that for, a year and a half or so. And I said to myself, I want more. I want more than HTML email and TRTD and any kind of HTML. And so I started doing more things to add more things to my resume. So I built this lovely light-up skirt. It took a family to create it, family of friends. A lovely friend of mine created this decal up there. I got to know some electrical engineers. They helped me sew lights on with conductive thread. And then I took it to Google I/O. I thought, I'm gonna impress so many people. No one was impressed. I think I had one person can I take a picture? But that was it. And I was like, all right, fine, I guess. So I thought, what's next? I'm gonna find a boot camp. So I found this boot camp, Ada Developers Academy. It's an academy for women and folks of non-binary gender. It's a free academy. You do 6 months in class and then 6 months in a paid internship. And I applied and saw that there was a 10% acceptance rate. And I thought, never gonna get into this. But sure enough, I went through their whole process. And November of 2017, I get this email. And it basically says, "So you're moving to Seattle, yeah?" And I went, I guess I'm moving to Seattle. So I moved to Seattle, and during the course, they had us learn HTML, CSS, JavaScript, Ruby on Rails. And then you get sent off to, this is my capstone from that. It's based off of my light up skirt. Basically, there's an app behind this sign that you can change the color of the sign from anywhere in the world. This is very exciting. Thought I'd show it just in case, And then they sent me off to my internship. My first internship was at Nordstrom on their iOS team. I learned Swift and Xcode. Did not like it. Thankfully, they did not hire me. So I was like, all right, that's cool. Well, I was lucky enough to have the network and tell, all the people at Ada, I said, this didn't work out for me. What am I gonna do? And my network backed me up. And they said, okay, we have another internship for you. Great. So I did 6 months at Alaska Airlines doing ASP.NET. They too did not hire me full time. And I got really close to giving up. I was like, maybe this isn't meant for me. Maybe I'm not supposed to be a software developer. So I got this last internship at the Allen Institute for Immunology, helping scientists learn about the immune system. So super cool. And just kept going. And I thought, we got this. Well, at the end, it found out that if I was resilient and I knew I wasn't going to give up, and I leaned on my network and I asked for what I want and what I needed, that you end up with a job. Woo! Thank you. So I became a full-time developer for the Allen Institute for Immunology. And every quarter I ensured that I was doing some project that I could add to my resume, just in case there was some change that came and I needed to find a new job or I wanted to ask for a promotion. And sure enough, after, I think, another year and a half, maybe 2 years maybe, that chance came around. A friend of mine had been reached out to for a position. She goes, oh, that position's not for me, but maybe you should contact Kate. And so this recruiter contacted me, had a lovely conversation. And then she was like, oh, let me put you in touch with the managers. And then all of a sudden I'm doing the technical interview. And then all of a sudden they're like, we want to offer you double what I ever thought that I would make as a park ranger. So I was like, well, I like the Allen Institute, but I think I'm going to actually take this chance after adding everything to my resume and head off to Openly to become a software engineer. And after adding those special little lines to my resume, turns out I'm now a senior software engineer at Openly. Thank you so much. Oh, it's been such a journey to get there. My journey started in 2015, 2016, and now it's 2024, and I just got a merit increase this week as a software engineer. But I've always got that kind of in my mind, like, I have devs who tell me I went the wrong direction. They go, oh, you're supposed to be a software developer and then become a park ranger. I just figure I set myself up so that when I do get that burnout, which I hope I don't, I can just become a park ranger again. It'll be fine, right? Talk about bears. It'll be great. So I'm going to just repeat this. Add a line to resume every quarter. It's really beneficial. And what I heard, what my advice was from my mentor was, if you're not adding something to your resume and you want to grow, it's time to either get a new project or time to find a new job. Oops, wrong direction. So here I am, full-time software. Oh, going the wrong direction again. Oop. Okay. I hope that you heard these things in my journey from going from park ranger to software engineer, that you should do your research, learn something new. Like Todd said, learn something new. And you should ask for what you want. And you should build your network and your community, practice resilience, and update your resume. So I'd like to thank you so much for letting me be on the stage, tell you about my journey. It's been an incredible one. I'm glad that it started here in Phoenix because I wouldn't have had it any other way. And a special thank you to everyone who's supported me along the way and continues to stand by my side. Thank you, and I'll be around for questions.